Today, I wanted to just really hit on something, dealing with pain. I asked my mom one day, I said, Mom, would you buy me a deck of cards? She says, Junior, I don't gamble in my house. Ain't no cards coming in my house. I said, Mom, I don't need them for gambling. I don't want them for gambling. I just need a deck of cards, Mom. My mom, for years, from the time I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I never saw a woman take so much physical abuse than the way I've seen my mother be every freaking day of my life. But I can't help her because I'm not strong enough. I don't have the muscle to get these men off my mother. My mother's a very high yellow woman, and every time they hit her, she would bleed from her eyes. She would walk around for days with sunglasses on in the house. I said, Ma, I need a deck of cards. Last altercation we got in, my stepfather hit my mama so hard in the face. I called her. And I looked at him with this rage and this pain in my eyes. Like one day. And I took this deck of cards. And I couldn't live in the house, so I had to live in the garage. And after this last altercation we had with this guy, I ran to my garage and I grabbed this deck of cards and I flipped a 7. And I started doing 7 push-ups. I flipped a 6, I did 6. I flipped a 9, I did 9. I flipped a 2, I did 2. I flipped another 9, I did 9. Until I got all the way through the deck. Jack, Queen, King worth 10. Aces, 25s, and Jokers, 50. Until I got sick and tired of what pain felt like in my gut. It didn't even matter to me no more. Because I started shuffling them all over again, and that's when I started doing the sit-ups. Because I wanted to make sure sports wasn't the reason why I started training. It was to make sure man never put his hands on my mama again. And I told my mama, no pain will ever stop me from taking care of you and my brothers and sisters. That's why I started doing what I started doing. Sports was a byproduct of what people started to see. It was the behind the scenes that was driving me crazy. There's 2 sides of pain that I don't think a lot of people really understand. There's one side of pain that's the suffering and the discomfort side of pain. But then there's another side of pain that's called effort. It's called glory. It's called if you can find a way to push through pain, there's something greater on the other side of it. And if you never tap into it, it's because the first time you felt that you backed off. The first time you felt, that burn. The first time you felt that it's too much. And we rationalize with ourselves to where we automatically stop. That's why a bunch of us give up so much in life so quickly. That's why kids have a problem finishing things in today's time. Because as soon as they feel a small bit of discomfort, of things ain't right, they're gone. I can't do it no more. But suppose I told you the greatest pain of my life is the reason I'm standing here today.
I dare you to take a little pain. Go through it. You're not gonna die because you're feeling a little pain. You ain't gonna die. At the end of pain is success. Pain is temporary. It may last for a minute, or an hour, or a day, or even a year, but eventually it will subside. and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it will last forever. On the other side of that pain, on the other side of that pain, on the other side of that pain is your promise.
At 10 years old, I picked up these deck of cards. And one day I counted them. And I found out there was 52 of them in the deck of cards. 52. And I turned my greatest pain into, in my business, with the greatest achievement ever is the touchdown Barney trophy. 52 cards. And ironically, my number ended up being 52.
There's not a person on my team in 16 years that has consistently beat me to the ball every play. That ain't got nothing to do with talent. That's just got everything to do with effort. Nothing else. 15 straight years. 12 Pro Bowls later, if you want numbers. I done saw all of it. And the only thing that's kept me around is my effort. So when you put on this, all I ever knew, because I wasn't a number one recruit, I wasn't a number one linebacker, I wasn't even in the media guy. All I ever knew was effort will get me seen on tape. Effort will get me noticed to get to the league. Effort would one day take care of my mom and my kids. Effort, which is between you and you. Nobody else can give you effort. Effort is within inside, man. And I'm still grinding because the next kid is talking about he getting too old. Keep watching me if I am. Nobody ain't got to convince me of what I do. I do what I do because I do what I do because I'm built from something. And man didn't create it. Every one of you men in here have that opportunity, man. But ask yourself the question personally. How much time you really wasting? For real. Or do you really represent this? I represent it because it's all I had. It's the only brotherhood I ever been formed to. That's why when I see y'all perform on Saturdays, that is my peace. That's why I run to the hotels. I don't need to talk to nobody before my games. I just need to see what I once came from. I sat in these same chairs you guys sat in, man. I sat around the greatest athletes in the world. And then I found myself totally different because everybody was asking the question, who is this kid? I'm just sharing my story to tell y'all, every time you think somebody got it good, man, it ain't always good. Some people just make up their mind and they just grind and say the heck with it, man. Because sometimes that's all you can do. How much of our brains are we really gonna use? I use mine to tell somebody today, September 11th, when I step on the field against the Pittsburgh Steelers, if that's what God's will is, there's no other man out there willing to give up what I'm willing to give up. I said that in 1993, when I said I wanted to be the greatest Hurricane, and the only thing that I got in the middle of all of that distance is the only thing that follows work, is results. There's no other blueprint. I ain't got no other secrets to tell y'all today. I ain't come here for nothing else but to tell you, if you want to do something, work at it. You want a better relationship with God, work at it. You want to understand why pulling your pants up is important, why yes ma'am and no ma'am is important, why being in the meeting with complete silence when somebody walks in, because it's presence and essence that determines respect. That's all we talking about. The power of respect is never to disrespect. That's why I was the first one sitting down in the meeting. I ain't got nothing to say. Y'all do y'all, I'm good. I got to listen. Something out there I need to grab from it. Sitting on the same football field as you am, 1993. And I made a quote. And that some people call controversy, I call it confidence. I said that I might be the greatest player to ever walk up out of the University of Miami. I did not say that because I thought I was better than everybody else. I said that simply because I was willing to put in the work to now be back here 18 years later and tell you the only brotherhood I still have.
You've got to say yes to your life. You've got to say yes. Yes to my dreams. Yes to me. Yes, I can make it. Yes, I can. Doesn't matter how many failures I've made. Doesn't matter how many mistakes I've endured. Doesn't matter about my defeats. Doesn't matter about what I've done.
It sits on my chest in a shirt form. But the eye of that real hurricane is found in my heart. Is this where it all came from? Same path y'all walk. Same calves y'all going in. Same green tree y'all walking up and down. I had one pair of jeans in college for at least 2 years. At least 2 years. What drives you? Because I feel home. And when you're home, ain't much to say. Our work spoke for itself. That's where our swagger came from. Our swagger came from, we worked as a unit. When I came to the University of Miami, there was one mind, one set, one heartbeat. It was impossible to get to us. Because if you saw us somewhere, you saw 15 or 20 of us. Gotta stop leaving each other. Gotta stop hanging out without each other. The streets ain't chasing the same things you chasing. There's many temptations out there. Just stay focused, man. As a team, though. As a team. That's all I knew when I was here. That's what kind of kept me focused. That I finally ran into a team. And you guys have that same thing. Because this you will never die. It'll never die. So it's up to you to carry that. It's up to you to carry that. And every Sunday, every Saturday, everything is talked about.
I gotta commit my very being to this thing. I gotta breathe it, I gotta eat it, I gotta sleep it. And until you get there, you'll never be successful in life. But once you get there, I guarantee you, the world is yours.
You won one yesterday? Know what you carry. When you carry this you on your chest. Know what you carry, man. You carry a legacy of greatness. And greatness is a lot of small things done well. Day after day, workout after workout, obedience after obedience, day after day.
If you gaze into the abyss long enough, you see the light, not the darkness. I'm betting my life on it. Bring it on. The adventure along the route, man. And I would say, where's that adventure to be found? You don't want someone else's fate. Man, your fate's enough. And your adventure's enough. It's plenty. It's more than you can ever fully realize. And so that's also part of the reason that we all believe that the individual has some intrinsic dignity. It's don't be so sure that your position and your room is so damn trivial. It might be your attitude towards it that's trivial. And if you're in dire straits and dire circumstances, just look at how much opportunity you have to make things better. Well, maybe the same thing's true of life, right? You bind yourself to it. And the tighter you bind yourself to it, the more you find out what it is. And that's like a radical embrace. We're built to walk uphill. And when you reach the pinnacle of the hill, you want to stop and appreciate the vision. But the next thing you want is a higher hill in the distance, because it's from the uphill climb that we derive our value. Almost all the positive emotion we feel, especially the emotion that fills us with enthusiasm, that's experienced in relationship to a goal. And so in some sense, you want a goal that you can never attain. There's nothing that makes you more formidable than verbal competence. than being able to articulate, be able to think, to marshal your arguments, right? Aim yourself in one direction, and you might say, well, I've gone halfway down this path and I found out it's wrong. Well, how do you distinguish that from just giving up? Well, that's a really hard question, right? It's a moral hazard. But then the absolute is, yeah, but you have to play one of them. You have to learn to play one of them. You have to become an expert at least one of them. And then that's not a relative proposition. And I believe that's true. So you want to commit to something. And then when you commit to something, you require yourself to bring all of your disparate components moving in a single direction, united in a single direction. So it's a unifying act.
You said that a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control. How should people become more dangerous?
Oh, becoming more articulate is definitely, I would say, that's the primary array of weapons. I mean, physical prowess is something, and it's not nothing, that physical confidence that comes along with that as well. But the same thing replicated at the level of the ability to communicate and to think, that's a way broader field of battle and opportunity.
In a world with seemingly infinite options, it can be challenging to decide on the best course of action for one's life. Peterson suggests that a useful approach is to focus on what bothers you or what you find most challenging. These discomforts or challenges can be an indication of where one should focus their time and energy. By leaning into what is difficult or uncomfortable, individuals can discover their strengths and find direction in their lives. Be honest with yourself about your interests, abilities, and limitations, and pursue the path that aligns most closely with your values and passions.
There's a lot of things you could be bothered by. Like a million things, man. But some things grip you. They bug you, and they might make you resentful and bitter because they bug you so much. Like, they're your things, man. They've got you. So then I look for a question that I would like the answer to. I would really like the answer to it, so I don't assume I already have the answer, because I would actually really like to have the answer. So if I could get a better answer, great. And so that's the first thing. And that's like a prayer. It's like, okay, here's a mystery. I would like to delve into it further. Well, so that's humility. It's like, here's a mystery, which means I don't know. I would like to delve into it further, which means I don't know enough already. And then comes the revelation. It's like, well, what's a revelation? Well, if you ask yourself a question, it's a real question. Do you get an answer or not? And the answer is, well, yeah, thoughts start to appear in your head. So
From somewhere.
That's right, from somewhere.
Where do they come from? Do you have a sense?
Depends on what you're aiming at. It depends on your intent. So imagine that your intent is to make things better. Then maybe they come from the place that's designed to make things better. Maybe your intent is to make things worse. Then they come from hell.
Jordan Peterson is adamant about the importance of setting goals in life and the need to embrace the difficulty that comes with pursuing them. Peterson emphasizes that while it's acceptable to change your direction in life, it's essential not to make it easier for yourself. Instead, he suggests that it's crucial to challenge yourself continually and strive for greater accomplishments. He highlights the importance of goal setting as a powerful tool for personal growth and development, and encourages people to embrace the challenges that come with pursuing their dreams.
Because it's inappropriate to continue in a direction you now realize to be wrong, but it's also inappropriate to give up and use that rationalization as an excuse. And how do you distinguish?
Especially seeing as we're not transparent to ourselves.
Well, right, exactly. So that is genuinely a moral hazard. So one of the principles that I tried to abide by in my therapeutic discussions was, you can change course as long as the next thing you do is equally or more difficult. Because that's a check against just giving up. So you want to discipline yourself so you can get yourself organized so that you can go in a particular direction, so that when you find the right direction, you can really go in that direction. And that does require an apprenticeship of sorts. And it might not matter in some sense exactly what the apprenticeship is, as long as it is rigorous. You want a goal that you can never attain. So you can always move closer to the goal that recedes as you move towards it. You think, well, that's frustrating. It's like Sisyphus pushing the rock uphill. But it's not, because as you pursue that goal, you put yourself together and your life does get better and richer and more abundant. And that's why the highest levels of virtue and goal are in some sense transcendent. You want them to be above everything you're doing so you can continually move towards something that's more sublime and better. That's what you are. You're here to live, not to sleep. And the problem with the vision of Mai Tais on the beach is that, well, first of all, that's a vision of drug-induced unconsciousness. Second, it's only going to work for about a week. Third, you're going to be a laughingstock in a month and depressed and aimless and goalless. You want a horizon of ever-expanding possibility. And so it does happen to people because they've staked their soul on the attainment of an instrumental goal.
Our goal with this video was to share some of Jordan Peterson's most insightful advice and encourage you to use it to help achieve your own personal goals. Whether it's setting ambitious targets, embracing challenges, or focusing on what bothers you, Peterson's insights can help create a path that is fulfilling, purposeful, and unique to you. With perseverance, dedication, and a willingness to take on challenges, you can achieve more than you ever thought possible.
What do you want in your life? It's a very hard question to answer.
You're going to have to put some effort into your life. Set up some aims for yourself, goals that you actually value. You need to be motivated to do that. If you're extroverted, you want friends. If you're agreeable, you want an intimate relationship. If you're disagreeable, you want to win competitions. If you're open, you want to engage in creative activity. If you're high in neuroticism, you want security.
So now you've got your thing to aim at. Think, well, I'm motivated because I got my thing to aim at. Yeah. It's like you're not as motivated as you could be because you don't yet have your thing to run away from. Because if you really want to be motivated, you want to be going somewhere and you want to be not going somewhere else. You got to aim at something, otherwise your life is meaningless. Well, what should you aim at? Well, pick something, aim at it. As you move toward it, you'll get wiser. Then maybe your aim will change. That's okay, but at least it'll change in an informed way. Discipline yourself in one dimension. See what happens. In some sense, life is a game. The analogy is that in life, like in sports, you're setting forth an aim and then arranging your perceptions and your actions in pursuit of that. And that you also generally do it while cooperating and competing with other people. Right. So that's also the game-like element as well.
Okay, so once you get your goal structure set up, you think, okay, if I could have this life, looks like that might be worth living, despite the fact that it's going to be anxiety-provoking and threatening, and there's going to be some suffering and loss involved and all of that. The goal is to have a vision for your life such that, all things considered, that justifies your effort.
Put yourself in the right frame of mind. Treat yourself like you're someone responsible for helping. You're someone that you are responsible for helping. So what that means is you have to start from the presupposition that despite all your flaws and insufficiencies, that it's worth having you around and that it would be okay if things were better for you. It's like if you want to have everything you could possibly want and more, then be a good person. The better a person you are, the more likely that is to happen. That doesn't mean that you're completely protected against getting cut off at the knees, but there's no better strategy.
Then what do you do? Well, then you turn down to the micro routines. It's like, okay, well, this is what I'm aiming for. How does that instantiate itself day to day, week to week, month to month? And that's where something like a schedule can be unbelievably useful. Google Calendar. It's like, make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to follow a schedule. It's like, well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. That's the trick. It's like, okay, I've got tomorrow. If I was going to set it up so it was the best possible day I could have, practically speaking, what would it look like? Well, then you schedule that, and obviously there's a bit of responsibility that's going to go along with that, because if you have any sense, one of the things that you're going to insist upon is that at the end of the day, you're not in worse shape than you were than at the beginning of the day, right? Because that's a stupid day. If you have a bunch of those in a row, you just dig yourself a hole and then you bury yourself in it. It's like, sorry, that's just not a good strategy.
Now it's okay, now you got your vision. You're trying to get through a territory you don't understand. And here's your option. No map, a map that's not so good but has some things about it, or a great map. Well, obviously the great map is the thing you want, but the map that's something is way better than the map that's nothing. Plus, as you explore, because of your map, you could start to fill in the details. Let's say you aim at something and you develop some skills along the way, and then you get like a third of the way there and you think, oh, that's not for me. It's like, well, yeah, fair enough, but now you've still got the skills you developed. You know exactly why it's not for you now. And then you can bring that wisdom back, even though it's not perfect, you can bring it back to your next plan. And so as you plan, you get better at planning, which is the crucial thing. So then we say to people, take your positive vision and make it into 8 stateable goals, right? So, and then rank them in a hierarchy, break the goals into incremental goals so that you have a reasonable probability of succeeding within some time frame. That's the other thing. You have to parameterize it with regards to time frame. That's right. And when you're in the zone, you're expanding your skills in a manner that's intrinsically rewarding because you're succeeding. And so you want to set, if you're good to yourself, you think, okay, I need to set a goal, but I need to set a goal that someone as stupid and useless as me could probably attain if they put some effort into it. Right. And then you've got it perfectly, because it's not so high that it's grandiose or impossible that you fail necessarily and then justify your bitterness. Well, I set a goal and I didn't attain it, so I'm not going to set any more goals. Right. It's like, no, you set a goal that was inappropriate, and you're playing a trick on yourself because you wanted to fail so that you could justify not having to try, which isn't helpful. You're still going to be a victim. It's like, there's no way out of that, man. So, because life is a challenge that in some sense can't be surmounted. So there's no way out of your problem. But there are certainly proper ways of dealing with it. And then the next thing is, okay, you need a rationale for them, because you're going to have doubts and people are going to put up obstacles. Why would it be good for you? Okay. Why would it be good for your family if you attained that goal? Why would it be good for the broader community? Because if it's a good goal, it should be good for you. That's fine. But if it's a really good goal, it should be good for you in a way that's good for other people.
Win-win-win.
Yes, exactly. And if you're going to decide what your goals are, why not set up the ones that benefit the largest number of people simultaneously? Yes, and if you can do that, you should start with your own concerns, because you have to take care of yourself.
Basic needs first.
Yes, put your own oxygen mask on, then put your child's oxygen mask on. Yeah, right. And then you can, as you build up the basis of competence locally, you might develop enough skills so that you can expand that outward. And it also gives your goal a certain amount of nobility. And so if someone challenges you and says, well, why are you doing that? That seems stupid. You could say, I'm doing that because it helps me take care of myself, but it benefits my family, and here's the reasons why, and this is the repercussions out into the broader community. People who are putting up objections and doubts aren't armed to deal with that kind of response. And then when you have those doubts in your mind that plague you, you say, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, it's because, well, I have to take care of myself, because otherwise I'm pathetic and useless and bitter and cruel, and then I'm going somewhere terrible, so that's a bad idea, and here's how it would help my family, and here's how it would help the community, and that's good enough set of reasons for it, unless I can think of better ones. Right. If without better ones, that's good enough. When the unknown emerges, you tend to experience anxiety. And then there's the known, and I define the known very specifically and very carefully. The known is the place you are when what you're doing produces the results you want. And I say want because that brings motivation and emotion into the game. So you're motivated to pursue something. You pursue it, and what you want happens. Not only do you get what you want, but you get validation for the structure that governs your perceptions and your actions.
Well, you know my grandfather told me, you don't get as far as the motherfuckers you talk to for no reason. You'll be successful as the motherfuckers that you talk to for no reason. What I mean is, if you spending your day talking to a nigga that ain't got nothing going on, what the fuck kind of information can he offer you? Can he help you learn something? Can he teach you something in the conversation?
You know, people who want to live life on the highest level are the only people who matter in my life. You know, those are the people that actually go above and beyond to continue success.
I had to make a lot of decisions that weren't favorable, that wasn't cool, that wasn't like what you're supposed to do when you're in my position. I had to go against the grain. And that's when I realized that I'm a disruptor.
I mean, you want to play stupid, be stupid, stay broke. You know what I'm saying? That's my motto. For me, I'm going to take it in. I'm going to absorb everything that's going on and get what I can get. Ain't no school for this shit, stupid. Ain't no school for this shit. You gotta be smart enough to pick up the information as you go.
We equate success with money, and I don't care how much it is. If I got more than I had yesterday, I'm successful, but that's not the truth. Success to me is peace. It's peace of mind, being able to get up every day and live your life to the fullest with making memories, doing things that you love to do without, having to be told what to do, because you earn that and you put yourself in a position where you're able to go do something that you actually love, and it has purpose for you.
Niggas always act like they don't understand what's going on. I be telling niggas straight up, I give them the game, man. It's a gift. Here you go, baby. And you know what they do? They look at me like I'm trying to pull a fast one on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna get to you right after I used it. I was crazy enough to believe what the fuck I was saying gonna happen was gonna happen. And that's why I was persistent enough and consistent enough to exist now.
When you're coming up in the environment that I grew up in, if you progressing too fast, it can become dangerous because of the envy or jealousy connected to it. It can make your home appear to be the bank that they're going to make the withdrawal out of.
I'm the guy who walked out on the streets and showed all these kids in this generation coming up that you can be from where I'm from. I'm gonna leave the back door open for you. You just gotta get in there.
Newsflash, I'll never sell 13 million records again. Never sell 10 million records again. No, I don't think anybody's gonna do it.
It's a different culture.
It's a different business, it's a different thing, and I'm cool with that. I'm making music because I love it. And it's why I'm here. So when you meet someone for the first time, you can appreciate them in a different way than after you've assessed them and you feel like you know exactly who they are. But that cloud is actually created by the artist community themselves, because they go, yeah, it's cool, but if you keep winning, how the hell I'm gonna have my shot at winning? Oh, fool, you done made enough money. Like they get that thing there, but they don't realize that you going, I just want to win so I can feel like I felt when it happened the first time. There's nothing that can actually compare to when it's right, what it feels like when it's right. The music is just dead right, and it's like that energy that's there. It's a special kind of high that you get addicted to, and you'll chase it for the rest of your actual career. When you feel that feeling, whether it's your first album, second album, third album, just a single, because a lot of artists have a career long enough for one song, but when you feel what that feeling is, you ain't gonna replace it. If you're smart enough to know what you're experiencing, you're gonna know that that's not gonna, you're gonna continuously be chasing that feeling, to feel like that again. That's really all that matters. When you achieve a certain level of success, you'll start to evaluate what your legacy is gonna be. And the people who help people resonate the strongest. Those people are who we appreciate in their absence even more than we did in their presence. No matter how much you feel like you're prepared for something, it never happens on your time, like when you think you're ready, like it's supposed to happen. It always happens when it's supposed to happen. Because the period that you feel ready and people are not acknowledging the material the way you feel like they should because it's good, is the time that you actually develop skin thick enough to survive when it does work. You run into that same energy later after you've had success. Because as a new artist, you get people that hear it, but they don't know that it has a value to it. They listen to it and they go, yeah, it's cool, yeah. Because they don't see you the way they see the guy that everyone's embracing at the moment. And I don't think artists should make adjustments. I think they should stay in that pocket that they're in, and when they have a moment, it really explodes because it's different. But a lot of us are in the circumstances when it's starting where there ain't no plan B. Gotta work.
That's my purpose and why I'm here and why I tell my story, because I had to make some painful decisions to get here, and I'm still thriving and trying to get to the next level. But this is bigger than me, because I'm gonna have to sit down with somebody one day and tell them, hey man, you might wanna try it this way. You know, because it missed so many calls where I've had some kids where, I wouldn't call them kids, but young guys that I really respected. And I would go talk to them about certain things. And they'd be like, yeah, I can see that. And then next week they're gone. Thing is, you have to package it right.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying? Because if I'm coming to you and I'm looking clean and buttoned up, I don't look like one of you because you know how I used to look. You know how I used to be. You know what used to be around me. You know, you respected what was around me because you felt like I was leading men that you respect. Now that that's no longer around, you kind of second guess what I'm saying because that ain't the ideal you got for yourself, right? Until you start to get in that place where you start to get things that you actually really care about. Kids, wife, family, career. Because now you have to start making those, and the thing is, you have to evolve. If you don't evolve, even in the streets, I knew that going in, it's just like, I'm not staying here. I just need this to be, you know, the vessel, because music is my talent, which I stumbled on, but business has always been my passion. And that's what I strive for. So I was never caught up in the stigma of the streets. Like, I understood it, but I understood what it was too. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I can't come from the streets and walk straight into the boardroom. Wow. So how do I get there? And then I started to map out this plan. The plan was to go from where I was, to figure some things out, to establish myself, establish my credibility. And starting to get into this music. I started as a CEO at first. I spent a lot of money. That didn't work. My artists went to jail. One of them got killed. And now I'm stuck with all the studio equipment. I'm like, I got to do it myself. It takes me 10 years to build it. Boom, now I'm a success. But then I got all these bad things that are coming with me because now nobody ever cut the water off. I got to start transitioning that. But this is the thing. They don't understand. I already got a vision. I'm already going where I'm going. So as you start to get closer to where you're going, people start to fall back. And they're like, I don't really like what he's doing anymore. I think the sad part about it is, you know, everybody's supposed to have their own vision. And my vision and your vision is supposed to align so we can get to where we're going together. Whatever I can do to help you and whatever you can do to help me, that's when the visions align. And as you get more comfortable with getting what you get, then you get this mindset of, I'm glad it ain't me. So you hear about somebody getting murdered, I'm glad it ain't me. You hear about somebody going to prison, I'm glad it ain't me. But the whole time you rolling the dice. And throughout the streets taught me about integrity, right? And that's like the big one to me, because it's almost like, if you ain't a man of your word, you're not a man. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you want to keep your word when you play with people that are just as dangerous as you are.
It's time for you to recognize the person that you are being is not the person that you have to be. It's time for you to be more motivated than you've ever been in your entire life, rather than settling for what you have. Chances are you didn't wake up one day and think, I just want to be a mediocre person. I want to be like everybody else. No, you had a burning desire to learn, to grow, and evolve. The problem is that you settled into a world that said it's okay to be comfortable. It's okay to stay where you are. But the fact is, if you're staying where you are, you're going backwards. You see, to be motivated means to move through things. The word motivation comes from the Latin of motive. What is your motive for doing what you're doing? Let's be honest. You have goals. You have dreams. You have ambitions. We all do. We are what the Greeks called teleological. We are goal-centered creatures. We need targets, things to aim for. But most of us are just settling for things that don't give us the greatest joy. The fact is, we are all here to grow, to evolve, and to contribute. Jim Rohn famously said that the difference between us and all of the other animals on the planet is that we have the dignity of choice. A tree doesn't think to itself, well, you know what, I've had enough of growing, I'm just going to stay here. No, it does what it is meant to do. Every living soul, every living cell lives for one reason. It lives to grow, to express itself fully. Every day when we're not allowing ourselves to be who we are truly capable of being, there is a part of us that is dying. The question I want to ask you right now is, Who do you want to become? What is it that you want to leave on this earth? In the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey, he talks about the first 2 habits: to be proactive, to be active, to have the motivation to move through. But the biggest challenge that we all face in moving through life is the challenges that we have going on inside our own mind. A part of us that wants us to stay where we are, to stay with what is familiar, to stay with what is comfortable to us. There is a disease in the world right now, and it's called being comfortable, settling for what you have. We are not settlers. We are hunters. We are gatherers. We are designed to move, to evolve, to move through the biggest battle we will ever face. And it's the battle inside our mind. Right now or tomorrow, when you wake up, the battle begins with a part of you that is motivated to keep you where you are, and another part that wants you to get up and get on and make your life and the world a better place. The second habit in the 7 habits of highly effective people is to begin with the end in mind. The end of what? The day, the week, the month? No, your life. Your life is running out. And what do you want the legacy of your life to be? Take a moment now to imagine being at your own funeral. What do you want people to be saying about you? What is the impact that you want to have? See, when you start to think about the end in mind, you can start to allow yourself to be motivated to go out and create, to go and close the gap between where you are and where you're capable of being. From my experience of having worked in the field of personal development for over 30 years, I can tell you that the majority of people are suffering right now because they're settling for a life of mediocrity. They're settling to be stuck in the middle of a rugged mountain, which is what the word means. You are here to grow, and it's time for you to recognize that your future is unwritten and you have the power to change. Today, make that commitment to no longer live a life by chance, but to live an extraordinary life by design. As you think about advancing, evolving, and getting better, to be motivated isn't a destination, it's a commitment to get better. And every single day, you're not going to feel like doing so many things. And that is what the disease of being comfortable has done. It has made so many of us go, well, you know what? I just don't feel like it. Say this right now. What is not feeling like anything got to do with what I need to do based on who I want to become? It's time for you to recognize and create a new identity. The word identity really means you identify with the person that you are, the person you have practiced being, and all you're doing is recreating that with a new identity, with the version of yourself that you are inspired and motivated to go and carve out every single day. Your future is unwritten, and you have the power to change. It's time for you not just to be a hero in the beginning. It's time for you to be a hero every single day as you turn down the voice of stay where you are, don't do this, it's not worth it, and turn up the genius inside you, the guiding voice that wants you to advance, wants you to be motivated to go out and make you and the lives of people around you better. Thousands of years ago, it was recognized that people would start things with great intentions, to be a hero in the beginning, only for their enthusiasm to go out the back door before they knew it. It's time for you to rise up and move to a place that you've not gone before, to boldly go where you have not gone before. It's time for you to be an example, not just to yourself, but all the people around you that are settling for a life of unfulfillment, dissatisfaction. It's time, like never before, for you to have the motive, for you to be motivated to go above and beyond anything that you have done before. Let's do this.
Your ambition, if you have any sense, is actually to become competent.
Do you want to be competent and dangerous, or do you want to be vague and useless?
It is definitely the case that there is no more exceptional form of the capacity to be dangerous than to be articulate. And so it's a moral endeavor in some real sense. Right? To become articulate is to become the master of your own tongue. Every advantage comes with a disadvantage. So if you're extroverted, you're social and you're positive, but you're impulsive and you can tilt towards hedonism and you can't stand being alone. No matter where you land in the temperamental landscape, you're going to have your associated faults and temptations. You've got a goal, and you'll see that as you progress towards the goal, there'll be obstacles that emerge, and some of them you don't want to confront. That's why it's useful to order your room. Chaotic room makes you anxious. Why? Too many pathways, man. People don't really repress the things they don't want to face, they just fail to unpack them. You want a horizon of ever-expanding possibility. We're built to walk uphill, and when you reach the pinnacle of the hill, you want to stop and appreciate the vision, but the next thing you want is a higher hill in the distance. Beware of unintended consequences. It's like, oh no, this thing will just do what I want it to do and nothing else. It's like, no, it turns out that not only is what we want from each other the real thing, but that's also the adventure of your life. And so if you aren't truthful, and that means, unfortunately, especially at the beginning, when you start to be truthful, it means deeply coming to terms with your inadequacies in humility. So it's very painful. Without that, you don't have the adventure of your life. You have the role that you've acquiesced to. And that'll take all the meaning out of your life. It's good for you to go take your place in the world. Have some ambition, have a vision, have a goal, have a strategy. Try to be a good person, not because it's your duty precisely, because that's the proper way to live. You sit on the bed and say, okay, man, I'm ready to learn something. What's one thing I'm doing wrong, that I know I'm doing wrong, that I could fix? You meditate on that, you'll get an answer. You grow in proportion to the weight you take on voluntarily. And it's also true that we have no idea what the upper limit to that is. It's from the uphill climb that we derive our value, and I mean this technically. So almost all the positive emotion we feel, especially the emotion that fills us with enthusiasm, and that's experienced in relationship to a goal. And so in some sense, you want a goal that you can never attain. So you can always move closer to the goal that recedes as you move towards it. You think, well, that's frustrating. It's like Sisyphus pushing the rock uphill. But it's not, because as you pursue that goal, you put yourself together and your life does get better and richer and more abundant. And that's why the highest levels of virtue and goal are in some sense transcendent. You want them to be above everything you're doing so you can continually move towards something that's more sublime and better. That's what you are. You're here to live, not to sleep. And the problem with the vision of Mai Tais on the beach is that, well, first of all, that's a vision of drug-induced unconsciousness. Second, it's only going to work for about a week. Third, you're going to be a laughingstock in a month and depressed and aimless and goalless. You want a horizon of ever-expanding possibility. And so it does happen to people because they've staked their soul on the attainment of an instrumental goal. And it can be a pretty high-order goal, but then you think, now I'm there, now what? Well, the answer can't be, well, I'm going to live in the lap of luxury and never have to leave the face. What do you want to be, a giant infant with a gold bottle? You never have to do anything but lay in your back and suck. It's like, you see the problem with that as a conceptualization. It's no, you want to be like an active warrior moving uphill with your sword in hand. And that's dynamic, that's exciting. People are afraid of the truth because often if you reveal it, it causes conflict in the moment. Telling the truth is definitely an adventure. Seeking for sure, but also telling. Another way of going about it is to just say what you think and see what happens. That's an adventure because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. So look, there's this old idea that it's necessary to have faith in the truth. And so here's a way of thinking about that. Someone asks you a question and you might think, well, here's the outcome I want. And so here's how I'm going to answer that question. So that's one way of approaching it. But another way of approaching it is, you ask me a question, I'm going to think about the answer, and I'm just going to tell you what I think. And it doesn't matter what the outcome is, because I'm willing to see what the outcome will be, predicated on the idea that there isn't a better outcome than the one that truth produces. Even if it's harsh and terrible in the short term, and sometimes it is, it's like there isn't a better way of doing it. Now, you might say, well, how do you know that? And the answer is, well, I don't know that. That's why it's an article of faith, because I believe, and I believe this deeply, the being that you produce as a consequence of telling the truth is good, by definition, even though it's harsh and often uncomfortable, because you get in trouble. One of the things that I've really learned recently, or learned to articulate better, is that there's a very tight relationship between aspiration and responsibility. The first question might be, do you need to aspire to something? And the answer is, well, yes, because you have to do something. If you just sit there, you'll die. You can't just sit there. You have to go act out in the world. Okay, so act towards what? Well, that's whatever your aspiration is. You have to have an aim. Okay, well, what should the aim be? Well, it should be something worth doing, let's say. Why do something that you don't feel is worth doing? What do you think's worth doing? Well, if you watch other people and you judge when they're doing something worthwhile, you usually judge them positively if you see that they're taking responsibility, at least for themselves. What, do you want to be completely useless so other people have to take care of you? That's pretty pathetic. And maybe you could get your act together so you're taking care of yourself and your family. And maybe you could even do better than that and take care of yourself and your family and your community. Well, good for you. That's responsibility, and that's an aim. Well, here's one of the things that's cool about that, is that your life doesn't have meaning without aspiration or an aim. Okay, so you need a hierarchy of values. There's got to be something at the top. It's got to be something important. If you don't have that, your life doesn't have any meaning. So if you criticize the hierarchy, or even the idea of hierarchy, you destroy the idea of aspiration, and then people have nothing. Well, that's not helpful. People are built for a struggle, and they're built for a weight, and you want to take on a heavy burden voluntarily. See if you can put yourself together. See what you can do out in the world while you're waiting to die. It's an all-in game. It better be worthwhile. It took me a long time to understand that belief regulated emotion. So what happens is that if you act out your identity, if you act out your beliefs in the world, and what you want doesn't happen, what happens is that your body defaults into emergency preparation for action. And the reason for that is you've wandered too far away from the campfire, and now you're in the forest, and maybe you're naked. And so what do you do then? And the answer is, well, you don't know what to do. So what do you do when you don't know what to do? And the answer is, you prepare to do everything. And the problem with that is that it's unbelievably draining psychophysiologically. Like, it hurts you. And there's an immense physiological literature detailing the cost of exactly that kind of response. People stay where what they do has the results they want. That's partly why you want to be around people who share your cultural presuppositions. It's very hard on us not to be where we know that what we want is going to happen. We hate that, and no wonder. There are varying degrees of that, obviously. You can really be where you don't know what's going to happen, or you can only be there to some degree. But by and large, we're conservative creatures. Even if we're liberal in temperament, we can't tolerate that much uncertainty. You might ask, well, why? And the answer is, well, because you can be hurt, pain, you can be damaged, you can become intolerably anxious, and you can die. So it's no wonder you're sensitive, or very sensitive, to negative emotion.